Much out there right now of, players people want to see the team sign in mock drafts and all of these things. And I thought about doing a mock draft this week. Might go ahead and drop one right before the draft next week. Um, but there's so much uncertainty in those, and I've done a ton of them myself. And depending on what networks you use and whose big boards you're working off of, you can really kind of make anything you want happen. Um, and it is within the realm of possibility, I guess. But I I can give up the next couple of years of first and second round picks to get us into the top 10 and take whoever I want. And to me, that gets a little bit tricky on trying to be predictive. And there's a certain level of fun to it of like, if I was a GM, this is what I would do. Um, but it's overall not super beneficial to kind of try to project out into um, what we're anticipating seeing on draft day, right? I have learned, for better or for worse, mostly for better, through this tenure of Brandon Bean, that he and I don't think the same on a lot of things. And thank your lucky stars that he doesn't think the same as me, because I was a huge Josh Rosen fan. Uh, I remember on draft night, the year we took Josh Allen, just being super pissed off that we selected the wrong Josh. So I don't try to get too far inside of Bean's head, because if he starts thinking the same way I'm thinking, it might be a dangerous game. So just kind of my overall philosophies of what I would like to see from this draft. And there's a ton of traction out there in mock draft communities, just kind of in football discussion in general, about the Bills taking linebacker round one. And this is something that I've done in a lot of my mock drafts. I'm pretty sure the one I posted through our social medias, I'm pretty sure I took Jack Campbell in the first round. And I don't know. The more I think about this, the more discussions I've had. Um, it just seems to be the spot that I go to, um, just just because of how glaring of a need it is, um, in my mind. And I'm not overly convinced that the answer to that spot is on the roster between Dodson, Bernard, um, and Bale Inspector. I'm not convinced that the answer is there. I do think there's possible, stopgap guys in free agency if you want to attack that after the draft. The big one for me would be Zach Cunningham. But the more I look at this and the more I see kind of pretty consistent, valuation of Jack Campbell kind of being mid second round. Uh, my initial thought here was, don't play games. Don't. Who cares if you call it a reach? If you get a C grade in the draft, if that's the player you want, go get him, and don't roll the dice of him being there in round two. And kind of since I started looking at the draft, I've kind of switched my philosophy here a bit, and this kind of came with McDermott's taking over the defense. We were able to bring back Poyer, which I didn't think was going to happen. You got Kyer Elam going into year two. You have Trey White hopefully coming back fully healthy. You have Micah Hyde coming back fully healthy. It looks like DeMar Hamlin's going to return at some point possibly. And for me, based on the defense that we had last year, the defensive success that we've had over the past few seasons, to me, there's been so much investment made into the defense. When you look at Rousseau, Basham, Epinesa, Terrell Bernard, just all these players, Kyrie Elam, and for me, this is like a season to push all the chips in for Sean McDermott. You're taking full control of the defense. You're doing the defensive play calling. Um, to me, his bread and butter in the NFL was defense, and that's how he got this job. So yes, you lost Tremaine Edmonds, first round pick that was, a leader of your defense, all that. You also got back from a top 5 defense last year. Jordan Poyer was able to come back. Micah Hyde missed all of last season. You're going to get Von Miller back at a certain point this season. All that high draft capital that you've used on the defense. To me, if this is, the biggest deficiency on that side of the ball is a middle linebacker, this should kind of be on Sean McDermott to be able to, cover up that weak link that may exist there and use those pieces that he has at his disposal and that electric secondary. Haven't even talked about Taron Johnson, the safeties. Use that and be able to scheme over, one weaker link. Maybe it's Bernard in there. Maybe you pursue Drew Sanders or somebody else in this draft in the second, third round. But for me, I don't want this first round pick to be spent on defense.